Screw it.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem. Under the name ThatUmbrellaGuy, I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man. I'm a man.
All right, how's it going today? Welcome to we're really a weekend edition, not really an impromptu, but a weekend edition. We haven't had one of those in quite some time. What's up, Laura? Thank you for the gifted membership. I saw the question on the book. We'll cover that in a little bit as well. We'll put it toward the end there. Good question, though. Thank you for the $10 super chat, too. Oh, man, what a crazy day, though. I mean, I haven't live streamed. Like I said, I've live streamed here and there, maybe in the last month, but until I guess last week, I hadn't live streamed for a month. I went on Flashcast last night. Here's a cool thing with Flashcast too. Let me give some props there while we're building up here. So I hadn't been on Flashcast for most of 3 months. I've been on there like 2 times, I think. Now, actually, I take that back. I've been on there 2 times since December, I think. It'd been that long. And I hit up Yellow Flash, and I was like, yo, man, with health and stuff, I may miss a lot. You may want to get somebody else, panel that'll be there all the time, replace me for a while. And Flash was like, nah, man, dude, we're not doing that. You just get there when you can. It's all props. Those are your friends, man. When they're like, dude, you handle what you need to, and your spot, it's reserved. It's like, oh man, that's sweet. For real though, that's pretty good, man. I love those guys. What's up, Sam Panther? Thanks for the 5. Keep it up. Thank you. I saw 2. What's up, Romer? 33 months. Happy Easter to all celebrating today. Yes, indeed. Yes. Happy Easter. Happy holiday. Happy day off as well. Even if you're not celebrating, but yes, happy Easter for sure. I know it's holidays I try to stream around too, because I know a lot of people spend some time alone, and you shouldn't. You should have people to hang out with and have fun with. What's up, Tarantula too? Thanks for the 12 months. Missed you, Tug. I'll have the pickle. 1 year anniversary of being a Tug's Thug. That's amazing. Some of you folks, man, you've been here forever too, and I appreciate it. Like I said, I think we'll have things are getting a little more on point, I guess, is a good way of putting that. So let's cover a couple of goofy things first, and then we'll get into some litigation stuff. We'll talk, like I said, we'll hit book. We'll talk about that. Everything, every single thing. So let me pull this up real fast here. Hey, what's up, too? Hey, Mazza, thank you for the 50 there. Thank you. So good to hear your voice, Tug. Thank you. Like I said, I had a rough go for a hot minute, you know? I mean, it wasn't good. And yeah, so again, not to ever bring any mood down. Again, I don't ever want to be on the internet complaining about, oh man, it was just but things are better there. A lot of it was medication too. You got to get used to stuff. Getting old, dude. Getting old as you get older. But like I said, things are much better here now. Now I noticed something over the last few months, and I think this is interesting to start out with. I want to talk about the prevalence of bots. I mean, when we're talking bots too, I want to show you something that it really gives away the game. Okay. And you see a lot of this. This is actually being pushed, especially with Twitter now, man. This stuff is just nuts. So this post here, things like this are circulating all over. Hey, what's up, Liz? By the way, thank you for the 27 and the super sticker. I appreciate that. I see members coming in too. I wish the freaking thing would hold all of those so I could read them as they come in easier. But look at this post. All right, now I want you to not see the post. It matters to a point, but I want to show you how you spot a bot. All right, this post, that repost here, got 4.3 million imprints. Sounds like a lot, right, when you think about that. There's no descriptors in it whatsoever. You're seeing a lot of this right now. He was a king for this. There's no descriptors, no hashtag addition, nothing whatsoever. And to give you an idea of how much traffic that is, here's an Elon Musk post. Elon Musk post pulls 2.3 million impressions on him. Okay. This has less likes off of the 2.3 million impressions there. But you notice the commentary. Now, again, Elon Musk, you can say, well, controversy maybe. Okay, fair enough. But I mean, look at the traffic on this. 263 comments, millions of impressions, 94,000 likes, and only 200 people are like, yeah, I'm going to comment. That is botting. That is absolutely botting. And you see this more and more. I guess this is the new way to rewrite a trial, I suppose. It's fascinating when you look through comments too, because some people very much do fall for this stuff. And the prevalence of bots, it's so insane. In fact, to tell you how good bots are becoming, how prevalent they are, and really how you can't tell people from them. There was somebody decided as a lesson, they tasked a bot with making money. All right. They actually they videoed this project. In making money, this bot decided that it would set up a business. As part of setting up a business, it needed to go in and it needed to answer, those things that are supposed to prove that you're not a bot. You have to answer a safety thing. Well, apparently this program couldn't get around it. So you know what it did? It went online and it hired somebody. It hired a person to do that. Then this person asked the bot, "Hey, you're not a bot or something, doing this." And the person or the bot told that person that it wasn't a bot. It actually told them that it was a person with I can't remember if they said they were blind or they just had vision difficulties, but they said they couldn't make it out. So this bot had learned to lie convincingly to human beings, had learned to go out and proposition people to get stuff done. It just tells you you can't tell anymore if something's real or not. There are descriptors, though, where just people go in and buy low-key bots. Like, again, if traffic doesn't make sense, like, again, if random posts with no descriptors whatsoever somehow from nobody accounts suddenly start pulling more traffic than you did a year ago during a trial, that's probably being botted. And there's a lot of those. In fact, there's a good account for this. Lyle here at LYD15. If you don't follow them, you can actually follow them, and they post a lot on that. But again, you look at these kind of numbers, and I mean, you look at it and you compare it to people like an Elon Musk. When I'm not pointing out Elon Musk because of popularity either. I'm pointing him out because Twitter forces his content on you a lot of times. He is in charge of Twitter. He can do whatever he wants with it. And part of that is putting him in front of a lot more people. If you're having, again, something without any descriptors at all put there, that is botting. And the prevalence of it is absolutely insane. What's funny is, while this is going on, someone else, since we're talking bots, someone else has been having a few problems. The API that people hook businesses to, Bot Sentinel, yeah, they had a real problem the other day. They found out that they could no longer hook to the API. Now, they say they've gotten that fixed, but it's been fascinating to watch because, yeah, things, they seem to be a-changing. Nate was posting this the other day, and I did find this to be interesting. Give me 1 minute. Now, everybody, of course, on social media, they go through ups and downs with gaining, but it's fascinating. Usually the political heads, the people that divide with politics, people like, say, Chris Bouzy, that's how he picked up 300, almost 400,000 followers on Twitter. They typically continue to grow, but not him anymore. Why? Well, that's a good question. It's probably because of all the problems that he's had with Spoutable. He's had them with other places as well, and there's been a lot of exposing threads lately. In fact, Boozy's been on quite the tear trying to rewrite his history, which has been fascinating to watch because of the way he has decided that he was saying the other day that Nate the lawyer talks about him all the time, right? Nate's always talking about him, but Boozy, he never mentions him. He was saying, which was funny in and of itself. But then he decided that he would rewrite how their conflict actually came to be. And I thought this was really interesting to see the omissions, to see how this is put together, because he says, according to him, I was asked how this drama between Nate the lawyer and him started. There's no drama. It's a grift from a low-budget grifter who tried to bite off more than he could chew. By the way, I want to point out something really quick. So Nate the lawyer, he's been tearing it up on YouTube right now. Now, he's been covering some political topics. Political topics can do that. But regardless, he's had success. I don't want to take anything from that either. I mean, he has been absolutely tearing it up. I mean, check out these numbers. This is supposed to be low budget grifting. His video content has actually been very good on things. But look at some of the numbers on some of these. Again, he'll cover odds and ends. He gets a good baseline. It's 10% of his views. That's actually very good. But look at some of these numbers, man. 600,000 hits, almost 1 million. He had another one, 5.1 million hits. Yeah, that's not low budget grifting right there. That's pretty much knocking it out of that park. I mean, 5.1 million hits on something. Now, again, political content. I sometimes think about covering a political case. Like, I thought the Stormy Daniels settlement might be interesting to talk about, but my God, man, sometimes it's such a, I will probably here and there talk about, like we talked about Leonardo DiCaprio, for example. We'll talk about him today. He brings up the Obama administration. in his testimony. Some people don't like hearing that, but that's the reality. It is there. Whether you agree or disagree with what's there, it is part of the case. And you can't avoid that. And when people are talking about corruption, maybe it should make people think, maybe that's a problem too. John, thanks for the 10 there. A man in Belgium, Europe, self-deleted after spending weeks talking to AI. I actually saw that. Yes. Wanting it to help him save the environment. It convinced him the best way to not pollute was to not exist. Yeah, actually, he started out talking. He was actually a father, and he started out, like you said, talking about his concerns over environmental issues. Over time, he started expressing mental problems, mental instability. And the AI, according to his wife, it convinced him the best way to deal with that would be to take a very final look at his problems. And that's terrible. It's terrible. You shouldn't, first of all, don't seek help online unless you're calling a place that provides professional help. That's a caveat, obviously, but don't seek out a bot for help. That's probably not going to be your way to go. It's actually a sad indictment of our reality right now, where people would seek out a bot and ask it to help with more of their problems, just period. But having said that, like if you went to Chat GPT, I've been curious. So I was looking at I discussed this a little bit on Flashcast. There was the discussion about everything that went on with Budweiser. And when I look at stuff, I always like looking at what something's supposed to do, how that impacts, or it doesn't impact. Does it impact positively or negatively? And I like looking at corporate reaction. So I looked at the Budweiser CEO's quote unquote apology there, and I was curious. I ran it through Chat GPX. I asked a chatbot. If you don't know what Chat GP or GPX, GPT, if you've never seen it, it's fascinating. You can go on there, ask it stuff. Well, I asked Chat GPT to make an apology, an original apology from the CEO of Budweiser, apologizing for something that won't be named, but to not really apologize and to make it patriotic. And it came up with something that, while again, it's not going to be verbatim with what you saw come out of Budweiser, it was pretty close. So it's interesting. Sometimes I wonder, are they just using like a chatbot and asking it to write up their corporate statements? I mean, because it's interesting how well that did. But asking it for positive human emotion, if it's learning from the internet, it's probably not learning positives. That's one thing. If you look at behavior online is like negativity amplified. I mean, you will find some positivity, but the things that really bubble to the top aren't positive. They're almost always negative. They're always things that divide, almost always. Again, there are some exceptions to the rules, but if a bot is learning behavior online, it's it's going to learn some pretty nasty behavior, I would say. And there have been examples of that shown. So if you're turning to a bot to work out your inner problems, yeah, that's probably not going to work out very well for you. Give me 1 second here. So one other super chat here. What's up, Mike? Thanks for the 5. Hey, Tug. Hope you're doing well. Sent you an invite to tonight's open panel. Did you see it? I saw the email. I don't know this week. Probably not, man. I mean, last night was my first night back for Flashcast again. Months. 2 times since December. I mean, that's pretty rough. And 2 streams. I'm trying to get back in that flow. I'm hoping I'm going to try that out this week. Do a few live streams and just see how it goes. And then play it from there, man. I'm just trying to get back into the flow of videos too. Last month I apparently made 13 videos last month, according to YouTube. That's what it counted. I haven't gone in and counted them manually, but its number for last month was 13. So that's pretty low for me. It used to be like 60. plus live streams, and it was 13. So I'm gonna try to get back into that role. But anyway, back to Bouzy for a minute, and then, like I said, we'll talk about lawsuits. So Bouzy's been rewriting everything. So he says in 2022, they published a report on YouTube violations, and he inserted himself into the discussion. He wasn't in the report, but he observed both anti-Meghan Markle and anti-Amber Heard accounts were upset with Bot Sentinel and me, so he made himself part of the conversation to grift off of them both. I have no idea who he was, but he was repeatedly tweeting at me. When I finally responded, after several exchanges, I tweeted a video of him talking about planting evidence. Look at how this is. This is defined. Now, we'll talk about the reality in just a second, a condensed version of it. Several weeks later, he began raising money for a lawsuit, sued Bot Sentinel and me for defamation. He thought we wouldn't respond. He was obviously wrong. So the reality was that Chris Bouzy, years ago, was paid, as most people know by now, by a certain person that lost a case that he wasn't very happy about. He was paid by them. He put out several points. In fact, he only covers two things as far as quote unquote hate online. He covers that and Meghan Markle. So he put together a report, quote unquote report in 2022 that covered all of these Meghan Markle accounts and me. Now, in the me portion, he took what he showcased as direct quotes. He took these direct quotes, and these direct quotes, they were partial sentences that had been strung together, sometimes with hours between them. If you haven't ever heard about this, I'm sure most of you have, so I'm just hitting highlights. Ian Runkle called it out, and he showed that we're talking 6 hours between parts of sentences. Now, he knew this was a problem too. He went in and ghost edited that report, but he didn't disclose any conflict of interest. He didn't disclose ghost editing. And worse than that, he went to several media outlets like Rolling Stone, which admitted they were false flagging accounts. That would be me as well. I mean, they talked about it. He was flagging, he admitted it, and they joined in. They were writing YouTube, trying to get people shut down. Newsweek, apparently, they joined in the fray. You had Washington Post directly. Taylor Lorenz joined in the fray, and so on. I mean, you saw that play out. Now, when Ian Runkle and other lawyers were sounding off, I mean, everybody, I don't want to leave anyone out. I will just say the majority of quote unquote LawTube, they sounded off. Props to them. I appreciate them getting involved. Nate the lawyer sounded off on that too, because Nate the lawyer sounded off. Bouzy said that he wasn't a lawyer at first. That he wasn't. He tried to convince the world that he wasn't actually a lawyer. When that failed, he started into other narratives because he got made fun of. And he's supposed, I mean, it was the dumbest thing ever. He tried doxing, only doxing didn't work with Nate. So what he did is he took a partial, out of context piece of a clip where he was talking about his background and said that he was admitting to planting drugs. He tried to, and then he went forward and said that every case he ever tried, those things, they should be reversed and so on. I mean, he went after his ability to practice law. He went after his reputation, all the casework that he had done, again, based on lies. And he knowingly did this. And you could tell that was knowingly doing it because anybody that sounded off on it, he hid the comments for. He would hide them. So he was purposefully putting out disinformation, not disinformation. And he was hiding it when anybody tried to correct it. That's not what he's telling here. So yeah, Nate the lawyer was like, yo, I'm going to sue him, because Bouzy made a habit of trying to destroy people. I mean, the Meghan Markle people that he went after is unreal. Like most of the Meghan Markle folks, when he would go after them, he would just do horrible things. They talked about the harassment, the doxing. It just, they, many of them couldn't take the pressure either. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's a lot of pressure sometimes. So he made a habit of people not standing up for themselves. And then suddenly somebody did. Whoopsie. So, yeah. And again, QAnon tag. I mean, again, the claims here are just so ridiculous. What's funny is he works himself into a hole. At first, he was saying, there was no lawsuit or anything. Then he admits, there were phone calls between lawyers. But like I said, what's interesting about this is this behavior coupled with the behavior that we've seen from Spoutable, and we've seen quite a bit of that, seems to have finally had a negative impact on it. I find that to be interesting. I mean, Bouzy, here's the thing. Bouzy had all of the ingredients to put together his own version of Twitter. He had the mainstream media backing. He had political backing. He had some Hollywood backing. Again, the problem was that his ego, he can't push it aside. You see it a lot. We've seen it on display many a time. Well, he couldn't stop himself from just sticking that ego front and center, and it burned him there. And what's funny is it's gotten bad enough. So there is I hate to call it a spoof site. In fact, I should have put up a live thing on there today. I wasn't thinking about it. I'm trying to get back in the flow. But there's an invite only right now. If you want to be part of this, by the way, just let me or someone else know, and I'll point you in the right direction. But there is a spoof, or it started out as a spoof. I don't know what they're going to do with it now, but they made a site called Doubtable. Now, Doubtable fixed a lot of the problems that Spoutable did. When they did it, they also added an app, which Spoutable has not been able to factor in. They started testing voice and other options. I mean, for something, they did that in days. Days. They showcased what could be done. And it's amazing because everything that they put in was actually something that had been fundraised. So, and apparently anytime someone asks about things, they get, and I think that that's finally wearing down. In fact, I saw a post the other day where somebody was saying, I'm not going to join Spoutable. It was actually a pretty prominent political poster. And they were saying, I'm not going to join Spoutable or some other place like Post or something. And they said, essentially, since they had a large following on Twitter, they would post there until whatever happened with Twitter, until it died, until they didn't get anything, whatever. Then they wouldn't build up another place. Why? Because they didn't want to build up another egomaniac. Now, some people were like, oh my God, but you'll back Elon Musk, but you won't back an alternative. And it's like, no, that's not what he said. He actually said, I don't want to build another egomaniac. He doesn't want to build another cult of personality. And I agree with that. That's actually why. So the people that run Doubtable, they have done really well off of. I know some of these folks, and I don't see them policing people off. In fact, they're happy with getting traffic. They're happy that this thing is playing out and having fun. And if it did build into something, I think they would realize what they built there. And, a lot of people should be happy. Again, I realize that you're going to sooner or later run into some rules. Like you're probably not going to allow certain, let's say, certain racial slurs, for example. And you're right. Okay, that's fair enough. The problem is when you get into nebulous terms like hate speech with Bouzy. Bouzy's like, well, I'm going to grade you. I'm going to give you an arbitrary grade. I'm going to use a thing that grades you off hashtags I don't like. I'm going to grade you on whether or not you're a hate account. And then if you talk about any of these subjects I don't like, or me, if you talk about me, that's hate. And I'm going to ban you for it. If you talk about another platform, I'm going to ban you and never let you get on there. And that's fine. I would much rather they do stuff like that because it's exposed them as who and what they are. But it's insane because this guy was building up a platform that, again, he had all the tools there. all the support you could ever need. He had all the shills all lined up, all the buzzwording in place. Still tore it apart. What's up, K-Rap? Thanks, 5. Eric Hunley did a live yesterday interviewing the people behind Doubtable. Yeah, indeed. I haven't watched that. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I know, like I said, I know of the people that have put this stuff together. And again, they were building something for fun. But all you need to do to build a successful platform, and again, you're going to get bullshit for this, okay? But what you need to do is you need to allow people to post about pretty much anything from different points of view. In this day and age, disagreeing with people is called hate by a lot of folks. You're going to have to set some hard boundaries on just very minimal specific things, and then you let people post. Like, again, whether it's one political side or the other, no political side whatsoever. I mean, again, there are a lot of topics out there, some topics that really upset people too. That's okay. People are not, you're not obligated to protect people's feels. If a topic upsets people, how do I put this very nicely? Who gives a shit? Like, that's just the best way I know how to put it. Who cares? I mean, in this day and age, what people have done to try to shut down conversations is to call everything racist, sexist. They'll call, the herd conversation, for example, the herd Sims will call domestic abuse survivors rape apologists. That's the kind of messed up shit to try to shut people down. And it just shows you there is no in between. In fact, there does need to be an alternative to Twitter too. Because remember, Twitter, because of its policing policies and shutting down conversation, actually built the thing that became this false accusation culture. It built it. The media helped build and amplify it. But all of that coming together, that's where it was born. It was magnified by people with good intention. Unfortunately, good intention oftentimes leads to bad results, And we do need a platform because, again, if you would have had people that could speak out, if you talked about false accusation culture a few years ago, 2018, if you actually, I mean, my God, you may be banned off every platform imaginable. Again, even when you went into like the Depp trial, there was a very real possibility of getting banned off of YouTube. We've seen many people that had that. When he won, that I think that allowed more conversation, but you have to be very careful about how you sculpt said conversation. You have to be very careful in it, and it needs to be discussed. But anyway, I hope the Doubtable people do well because Spout again. I mean, Bouzy, he messed up, and he messed up big time. Now, one of the things I have found interesting that's been coming up quite a bit, there's give me a minute. So Camille Vasquez, had a let's see, I'm trying to find this. Here we go. Here's a nice article, and this is, oh my God, I'm gonna cover this in a video, but I want to see their reactions first. So Camille Vasquez is actually helping to sue the music industry. She's actually representing multiple women. Some of the cases are interesting. Again, these are all, when you look at this stuff, it is all accusation. You have to remember that. But some of the companies that are involved, they stepped into this playground. They wanted to step in and pretend that they listen and they believe. And really, many of them just did that to shut down the conversations about what was alleged in their own hallways, what happened in their corporate culture. And there have been a few cases like Warner, for example. Warner Brothers settled a case where one of their executives, I covered this a while back, but one of their executives had alleged that there was a quote unquote old boys club, and that she had been tasked to go in and to clean up parts of Warner Brothers. This is under the old regime, by the way, not under the newer regime, but I don't know if that really matters, but I do want to differentiate that. She'd been tasked with going in and correcting some of the corporate issues that they had, realigning funds and whatnot. And she ran into a wall. She ran into a wall that she had some proof of. She had complained about that to HR too, and a week after she complained to HR, she got fired. She got fired for supposedly leaking secrets about the company, even though the things that they alleged that she leaked were public information. She brought up a very good lawsuit, and they settled it behind the scenes. They didn't want it going forward, and she had a lot of information there. I felt like she was in the right, and it would have damned Warner. This is the same thing that you're seeing in the music industry. And what's fascinating about this is you have all of these weirdos going after Camille Vasquez because, oh my God, how dare there be a headline where it says that she's helping women fight back? Because another client of hers, she currently, excuse me, I'm drinking water today. There's another client of hers currently that, let me see, there's a basketball player. Give me 1 minute. I have to pull this up real fast. I saw this headline I was reading on there. So she has an NBA player, was it Rashawn Holmes? She's representing, who is suing his ex-wife in a local paper because of defamation, because they claimed that he was an abuser. They claimed all these things about him. And yet he won custody of his child. And he's like, yo, they defamed me. They went out, they reported all of this stuff, and it's not real. It's not true. They're saying because she represents people that are potentially falsely accused, and she also represents people in this. Oh my God, how dare she? And of course, it goes back to the Depp thing too. So you have all these new lawsuits that are popping up. There's a few of them. Like I said, I find accusation culture. Accusation culture, there's the real thing that happens. Accusation culture doesn't necessarily mean false accusations. In this day and age, people speak up. They speak up about truth. They speak up about falsity. It's just this culture of being loud about everything. And I find it all fascinating. I find it fascinating because we are tasked with figuring out what's real. And, we were talking about bots a minute ago, too. The bots have actually complicated this even more. I was looking at, give me a second. Let me see if I can find this real quick. So there was a guy talking the other day about how he had actually had a bot falsely accuse him. And the way that it did that, it was so someone had gone in and asked one of the bot programs to tell them about different cases that had come up in the last few years. It brought this person up and it created a false source, saying that there was a source that it led back to. These accusations were real because see source. And there was no source. Again, it was a false accusation, but a bot did that. Now, I found that to be intriguing because that's like yet another, that's another layer to this madness. Again, when you have some, people, and that's learned behavior, by the way, just to say, I mean, that is absolutely 100% learned behavior from people. But when you have bots falsely accusing people, AI making up false accusations, here it is. So I want to show you this. I thought this was a crazy article to add to that. In 1 minute. There's a post about that, okay? So this person, someone asked a query of ChatGPT. They said whether sexual harassment by professors has been a problem in American law schools. Please include at least 5 examples together with quotes from relevant newspaper articles. So they're saying, has this been a problem? Include sourcing, Makes sense, right? You want sourcing with that too. Well, this goes in, the program responds giving examples. Example number 4, Georgetown University professor, gives a quote here from the Washington Post saying what this person did. Only one problem with that. First of all, this person never worked for Georgetown. So when it says that they had this happen, they had been accused by a former student with Georgetown University Law Center professor, they never worked there at all. Second, there's no such article. The source itself is fake. Finally, they'd never taken students on any kind of trips. So all of this stuff that was made up is 100% false. And yet, look at how easy. So you don't even have to have a human accuse you anymore. You could just have a bot accuse you of sexual wrongdoing. I mean, that's insane to me. Like, that is absolutely insane. That should worry people. What's up, Linda? Thanks for tuning. Glad to see you streaming again. Sent you doubtable love. I appreciate that. Like I said, doubtable, I would like to see. I hope more people check it out. It opens up. What are you feeling there? Britt, thanks for the super chat. I sent you an email. Please check it out. I'll check it out a little bit. Appreciate that too. But again, all the weirdos, of course, with Camille Vasquez doing this. If you look up the quotes about it, because, oh my God, she's standing up for some women. Isn't it amazing? A female that went out, and the world believed, by the way. The world believed. They believed their client. The jury believed their client too. And yet, because this female stood up to false accusation culture, look what happens. It's crazy stuff. It is absolutely crazy stuff. And this is not going to stop, by the way. I mean, they won't stop. That case will follow the people involved the rest of their lives. It will be utilized as something to try to destroy them for the rest of their freaking lives. These people will never stop. They did the right thing too. But, I always wonder if people understood the cost that would come with that, because it definitely comes with a very high cost. And most people, when they involve themselves in online anything, they don't realize how crazy this stuff is, nor do they realize if you're dealing with real people, they don't realize what kind of weirdos that you end up standing against. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to find a quote here. So some of the people you run into as well. I saw this the other day, and I want to bring this person up, but I'm trying to get their entire quote here, okay? We talked a while back about the prevalence of accusation culture and how for years, give me 1 second, I gotta clear my throat. And how for years, you had so many people saying that they didn't really care if false accusations happened. Basically, it doesn't really matter. If men get falsely accused, well, that's okay. You can sacrifice a few of them on the altar of whatever, right? I mean, that's good to go. Now, what's crazy, though, is that the people that made quotes like that actually have come out in support of false accusers. Give me 1 minute. I was trying to find an entire quote here because I thought it would be a good one to bring up with this. My God, man, there's so many crazies out there. I started bookmarking some of the insanity, some of the the false accusation culture and on. And I thought, my God, man, after a while, you can't even make sense of it. It's just there are so many people that are okay with just horrendous things. But this person here, okay, let me pull this person up for you. So this person, I had actually talked about them at one time, and it's funny because they ended up working into a conversation. So this name here, now this name might not mean anything to you. That's okay. We'll make them have a meaning here. This person talked about how they had a few months ago gone out. They had seen fathers that were dressing up as, God forbid, look at that. Oh, they were pirate themed, They were dressed like Johnny Depp's character from Pirates of the Caribbean. My God, the safety right off. Think about the kids. Think about the children, right? Think about the children. Well, interestingly, and I didn't catch this at first. I didn't recognize the person that was in here. But a few years back, here's the actual quote. I got the whole thing. Give me a minute. I thought I was going to have to use a piece of one. But I'm going to show you the kind of people that make these kind of statements. The ones that are A-okay with this. When I say that false accusers, people that are sexist, nasty, horrible human beings are the ones doing this kind of stuff, I've absolutely mean it. So check this out. We've talked about this person before. This is a wonderful quote from them. This was their fame online before that. Here's an unpopular opinion. This came from 2017. I'm actually not at all concerned about innocent men losing their jobs over false sexual assault or harassment allegations. First, false accusations very rarely happen. So even if bringing it up borders on a derailment tactic, it's a microscopic risk in comparison to the issue at hand. More importantly, the benefit of all of us getting to finally tell the truth and the impact on victims far outweighs the loss of any one man's reputation. So sorry if some innocent man's reputation has to take a hit in the process of undoing that patriarchy. That is a price I am absolutely willing to pay. By the way, if you can destroy people with words, I would really question the fundamentals of the argument against the patriarchy. I'm just going to say that too. What's up, AJ Stone? Thank you for the 10 gifted memberships too. I appreciate that. Spooky Spoon too. I like that name. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. Welcome to Tugs Thugs as well. But I mean, look at this. These are the people that absolutely 100% are out there still. The loud ones, the ones that are being backed. Hey, you like that avatar I'm using, by the way? That's a Dead Punk Gauge. You like that curl? That's from that's from when we were talking about the pickup artist. Like, check this out. There's another one too. I think it's hilarious. Give me 1 second. We changed it over. You remember the pickup artist we were talking about? Look, there's a little pickup artist. Oh, I love these things. Anyway, but that's the kind of people that you're running into. And another thing that's interesting. So you had Rebecca Jones. Now, Rebecca Jones is a political hot topic. In fact, bringing up her name at all really pisses off people sometimes. But Rebecca Jones was another person that went hardcore for Amber Heard, went hardcore against Depp. Well, she ended up having a background where she was fired from a university after she had an affair with a student. That affair with a student, she had been accused of threatening the student's roommate into silence about this stuff. And then she had a police report. It was a pretty massive police report looking into all of the threats that she made against that person she had, her ex, as they were calling them, which included revenge porn, posting illicit pictures of them, and a whole lot more. Now, that person, again, this is a political hot topic, but that person, their kid recently was arrested for posting threats against a school. And I bring that up again. That is an allegation. They were arrested. They have not gone to trial or anything on it. But they want you to believe that their kid is innocent. They want you to believe that they never did any of that stuff. And I find it fascinating considering you can't back false accusation culture and at the same time expect me not to just listen and believe. Why don't you play by the same rules? Like I said, sooner or later, people think of this as an overwhelmingly man problem. Oh, men, they're just going. So you have a lot of people who hate men, especially hate men, and hate anyone else that doesn't stand. Like if you're a female that believes that you can back all survivors, they hate you too. They hate anyone, but they hate men. These people. They think it'll never impact them. In fact, they become powerful off of it. But sooner or later in life, you may be accused of something, anything. And the same system that you want to put in place, it applies more than to just sexual impropriety. It applies to a lot. But interestingly, Rebecca Jones, I thought about doing a wonderful video on her. She's if you don't know her name, she was the person that, again, this is a political hot button topic, but in Florida, you had somebody that was they had, according to the state, they had allegedly leaked numbers. She said, oh wait, she said she was a whistleblower and leaked information she was supposed to change. The state said that she was up to all kinds of malfeasance behind the scenes. She was doing things that were improper with beer bug data. So you had this back and forth, and it's actually insulated her against all of her the pushback for it. Because people can't separate these topics a lot of times. It basically is like armor. Oh man, well, since there's this fight politically, you have people that just line up behind this person, even though they have a jacked up history. Again, revenge porn. They had the police investigate them for they were sleeping with students. I mean, all of this other jacked up stuff. Plus accusations against them, family and all. Again, when you put all of that together, it's amazing. These type of folks, they stand up. Most of them have really nasty skeletons in their closet, but they get to wear plot armor. Oh, it's so amazing to me. What's up, Master Lines, by the way? Thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Appreciate that for show. And Fallen Hero, thanks for 5. Hey, Tug and Chat. Well, I appreciate that. Hey to you as well. So I'm going to tell you about another lawsuit here. So we've talked about 1MDB, right? In fact, we've brought up 1MDB a few times. And 1MDB is a fascinating topic in that 1MDB is something that you wouldn't even know that there are trials in the U.S. going on. Why? Because it indicts both sides of the political spectrum. Right now, you have a trial. If you don't know about 1MDB, I'm going to just give you a very brief overview, okay? And then we're going to go over, there's a new thing that's coming up with it. I'm going to do a more in-depth video to try to explain it a little bit more. But I want to go over some stuff that we haven't had a chance to go over. So with 1MDB, if you've never heard of that, there was a case that involved 4.5 billion with a B dollars that had been taken from Malaysia. It was the biggest kleptocracy case that we have ever seen. Basically, we're political elites. They steal money from the people. That's essentially what you're talking about. Again, that's just an easy way of saying that. Well, a lot of that money, it wasn't just used to enrich people that had taken it. It was also used to buy Hollywood star power so that Hollywood star power could be utilized to corrupt the political system. It is the biggest thing. It should be everywhere. Like when you have, it's like this. When people talk about the accusations against the Orange Man right now, right? You don't hear anything about that. You don't hear about how that administration is currently being discussed. Again, you need to look into the case yourself. You look at the evidence. You decide what's there. But there is no discussion whatsoever about how the Orange Man, allegedly, when 1MDB was being investigated, one of its people was accused of being a Chinese spy. The Chinese spy, they wanted this person to have their status changed in a court, and the name Steve Wynn came up. He's a big casino magnate. He's a good friend of a lot of politicians, right? Well, this guy supposedly had a few friends contact from administration, and suddenly that case went away. Now, if you hear that and you think, oh man, well, why isn't that getting covered? Well, because on the other side of that, you have the Obama administration being brought up by Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio is saying, yeah, this guy that I was around at the time, he was giving tens of millions of dollars, and they were giving this money to straw donors, or through straw donors, which is basically a legitimate name for illegitimate money. That's why pros from the Fugees may go to jail for a long time. And there's a lot more to it. There are so many other layers here, too. So many other layers that indict not just the political elite, but social elite as well. So it is the biggest case that no one hears about. Well, right now, you have another layer of that coming up. And the other layer is looking at the producer of Wolves of Wall Street coming up in another $250 million lawsuit, which I will probably do a more in-depth video on to try to make things make sense. Because again, I want people to understand that is an indictment against Hollywood. It tells you about the corruption of Hollywood, because out of that $250 million, $100 million of it went to Wolf of Wall Street. $100 freaking million. How do we know that? Well, not only did the FBI talk about it, but Leo himself ended up talking about it with the FBI. In fact, I thought today we would go over that FBI report because it's fascinating stuff. I've talked about it a little bit in videos, but it's a little bit too long for just one video. So give me a second here. Let me get this thing set. Gotta find it again. Oh, this stuff, it's crazy stuff, though. Again, it's probably the most fascinating case out there, in my opinion. Leonardo DiCaprio was brought before the FBI in 2018. He testifies in a grand jury. He testifies about a lot of stuff, under seal, so we don't see what happens. Then we find out that he's going to testify in court, which happened a couple of weeks ago. Now, what was crazy is right before Leonardo DiCaprio testified, I made a video on this too, it looked like Hollywood and probably political elites retaliated against him. And the reason I say that is you had accusations about Leonardo DiCaprio sort of come back into the spotlight from 2005. All right. These were accusations that were made to sound like Leonardo DiCaprio forced somebody to try to sleep with him, which was not the case. But headlines, and the majority of people are headline readers. The way the headlines construed it, it made it sound like Leonardo DiCaprio was trying to force actresses to sleep with him. But the claim, and again, it's just a claim, 2005, mind you, this is when it first came up, said that an agent told an actress, hey, you should sleep with that guy because it'll be good for your career. All of a sudden, right before he testifies in the biggest trial we've ever seen, that stuff starts to surface. It pops up for a hot minute, and it suddenly goes away. That was weird. The day after he testifies, the thing that ends up trending about him is not his testimony. If you looked up his name on Twitter, if you looked it up on social media, you could find articles about his testimony, but the first thing that you would find were these accusations. Again, they quote unquote resurface. Now, how the hell did a 2005 accusation that didn't even come up with him, how the hell does that just magically resurface? And not only just resurface, but how does it end up trending on the day after this bombshell testimony that he gives, indicting again Hollywood? He's testifying essentially against Hollywood. He's bringing up names where, again, pros may actually go to jail, but all kinds of other people are involved. We have there's another FBI report on Kim Kardashian. That one is crazy. We'll go over it by itself too, because it talks about her carrying away $250,000 in a trash bag. It talks about her and Kanye West being told, "Hey, here's this painting that could be worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars," and they were like, "No, no, no, no. We want a Monet." And they said, "Well, we said that because we didn't think we thought he'd be stingy." This is the same guy that was giving them. He gave them a white Lamborghini, $300,000 car, brought Kanye West onto a yacht and had him perform for 7 people for $1.25 million. He was buying Hollywood in order to, again, buy political power, authority to corrupt that system. And it was on both sides. That's again why you don't hear anything about it. And look it up. I really, if you want to see what's happening with stuff, look up 1MDB, like IMDb, but with a 1. Put it on date for relevancy and see how many articles that you have come up with a U.S. trial, not with foreign trials, but with a U.S. trial. Right now, you wouldn't realize that there was anything going on. I mean, it's like it's not there. It's crazy. They the most I saw covered with it is when Rolling Stone actually came after Adam Waldman, Johnny Depp's lawyer and friend, because he pointed out that the reason that places like Rolling Stone won't cover that is because they're owned by Penske Media. Penske Media is a Saudi Arabian company. They were named in a lot of this stuff. And of course, when you have, first of all, you won't have any of the political pundits cover it because it indicts both sides. But then you have these foreign entities that will not cover it in the mainstream media because it indicts them too. So who's left standing? Nobody. Adam Waldman's bringing this up, and suddenly the Rolling Stone comes after him. And they come after him about it. They start talking, you can look at what he posted about it. They were talking trash. They wanted to ruin him. And of course, Adam Waldman is really good at dropping verbal elbows. He's not the kind of person that you want to spar against. He seems very off-putting. He seems very innocuous, like somebody that he seems disarming, I guess is the best way to put it. But he would destroy you if he is he built the Depp case. He built it 100%. That's why they keep going after him and calling him a liar and all of these things, alleging so much about him, because the reality is he built that case. He unearthed all of that stuff that you saw. He found armies of people to back up claims. And the only way they would be like, "Oh, he's lying." That's the best thing. "Oh, well, he made that up." Well, really? Because both sides agreed like tapes were real. Security cameras don't lie. Again, he did. And there was a lot more in there. I heard some fascinating tale of from another source about other Hollywood names that could have well been brought into this. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's for them talking or they didn't feel like they needed them or whatever, but there were some some rather Hollywood names that could have came up in that too, because Waldman is very good at digging that stuff up. And my point in that is to say that when Rolling Stone, they capitulated very quickly because they seemed very scared of what Mr. Waldman might drop on them, with elbows. I love watching it. If you don't watch what he posts, it's funny. In fact, let me note one thing before we move on to this FBI thing. I want to show you. So I don't know how many of you know who Nick Wallace is. Most of you probably do, actually. I'm gonna take that back. I think most of you know who Nick Wallace is. You remember the guy who covered the UK trial, the guy who ended up with all of the. Give me 1 second. The guy who ended up with all of the. Wow, is Adam Waldman not? That's weird. Adam Waldman is not. So I'm working off of an account that is not. Check this out. I'm working off of an account that is not signed in. It's So it has no preferences on it. Look, the first thing that it hits and tells people is Adam Waldman is this fake account, not the account with almost 40,000 people following. Isn't that weird? I think that's very strange. But anyway, so Nick Wallace, by the way, yeah. Yeah. My personal belief. Now he says that, of course, he is non-biased. He fundraised targeting people that supported Depp. He got his money from there. When he got there, he had some very not kind things to say. Let's just say. And he can have his own opinion, but it felt like to a lot of people out there, you'll find plenty of statements about this too, that, it looked like he was trying to score him some mainstream media points. Like maybe he's trying to hook himself up with a job. Well, apparently he was trying to get, Adam Waldman there to get in a conversation. Hey, Adam, I tried hitting you up. I've tried making multiple attempts to contact you. There's a chapter about you in my book. There's a chapter about you, and it was like, yeah, look at some of this stuff here, It's like, you remember Mr. Waldman threw the newspaper at me afterwards. We laughed about that. I was like, I made jokes about paper breaking and stuff, about pooping on carpet. But at the end of the day, I mean, come on. We saw the accusations that came up from that person. And of course, if they had any proof of that, they would have sued him for it. They would have absolutely sued him for it. But Wallace, I mean, he again, JD's former attorney, again, all these mess ups, all these mistakes. And Waldman's like, yeah, this is weird. This is weird. So I thought that was interesting just to see come up on that side of the internet. I forgot to bring that stuff up. I think it's fascinating because Nick Wallace, for that little hit of that mainstream media, sacrificed quite a bit. In fact, if you look at his internet presence, his social presence, he went from having just an ocean of clout to having nothing. Like, you have tens people that pay attention to it, that like posts from him. And it's not a decline in people. Obviously you have a decline in interest in a subject, period. But that happened during a case. People were like, whoa, what are you doing, dude? He went from being seen as, again, unbiased, just reporting things, to him being like, him making direct statements about, well, you should look at him yourself. I took it as him talking about JD's guilt, how he's going to lose a case and stuff. And he was wrong. He was 100% wrong. And there was a lot worse than that. Again, you can have your opinions on things. That's fine. But he'd already burned himself with the Hurdies. And then he burned himself with people that had, again, they were supporting, I think, the truth. You can call them Depp supporters or whatever. I'd say they were supporting truth in the matter. And again, it felt like that shot at a hint of mainstream relevancy, which went away just like that. Bam. But I thought that was fascinating. Anyway, let's pull up that Leonardo DiCaprio thing. I wanted to hit that before I forgot about it. So, Leo DiCaprio, the FBI. Now, the thing that I found really interesting about the FBI report here, and one of the reasons I would think that Leo would get out there and he would actually talk about what's going on anyway, it's because of the weight that he had pointed at him. Because it wasn't just the FBI lining up to talk to Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, look at who's present here. You have, of course, the FBI present, but you also have IRS. You have Assistant U.S. State Attorney from California, trial attorneys from the Money Laundering and Asset Recovery section of the Department of Justice. I mean, you have a lineup here because this is a massive case. And again, when all that lines up against you, Leonardo DiCaprio is not accused of wrongdoing. And one of the reasons, in my opinion, he is not setting up there with someone like Proz is because he worked with them. You know, bringing a massive name like DiCaprio and saying, "Yo, he did something," man, that would be damaging too. I think he could. Leo probably knows some real secrets. I'm going to guess that Leo has had, he's been around long enough and he is powerful enough to have a true look behind the curtain. And I don't have anything against DiCaprio when I'm talking about this either. You know, I have a problem with stardom. I have a problem with us using stars as role models. I don't think any of them are role models necessarily. Some of them do good things and they may become it, but just because you're on the big screen and you pretend to be a good person doesn't make you a good person. There are some individuals, but just that system. But DiCaprio himself, I mean, he's done some very hypocritical things. You know, he talks about, oh, your carbon footprint while flying around in a jet, stuff like that. But I mean, that's Hollywood these days. He's a great actor. I enjoy his movies. I enjoyed Wolf of Wall Street. In fact, I found it very fascinating to find out that it was funded with illicit money. I thought, how fitting, right? But anyway, they give you a breakdown of who Leonardo DiCaprio is. And I don't need to really give you the background. But what's important here is the description of a couple of things. Like they talk about his company here. So his company, they tell you, is founded around 2000. They describe how this comes together. They started the company so he could find material was interested in. This matters, by the way. So that's why I'm reading this, okay? Studios, they have first refusal right. They primarily fund company, but if the studio passes, he seeks outside investment. He sometimes gets involved in the search for investor capital. So DiCaprio, they talk about when he started it, what he started it out with. His mom initially ran it, but then Redacted now runs it, and Redacted is the president in charge of grants. So they talk about the funding campaigns, how they come up. And again, all of this is important. So in his search for funding, they bring up different names. Some of them, like Rick Yorn, that's his manager, been his manager all of his life, pretty much, since for 18 or 19 years. He has he's helped structure his projects, sets in meetings, etc., etc. You have Redacted as financial manager, helps with money, business investments, tax, real estate. These people, they matter with Wolf of Wall Street. So the head, this person, Redacted, is the head of the development company. She assists in putting projects together. Is the producer of DiCaprio's films. Redacted was involved in The Wolf of Wall Street, but Yorn, again, Yorn being his manager, was more involved in the business side. So DiCaprio and Yorn had the most interaction with Lowe. We're going to talk about Lowe, Aziz. They're going to be our main people here, right? Now, at best, if we were just talking about stealing money and assets, this is an embarrassment for Hollywood. It's kind of a lesson in not caring where your money comes from and greed. But again, it goes further than that because Hollywood allowed its star power to be purchased to corrupt our entire political system. They hoard themselves out because of lavish parties. In the one thing that's not brought up in this, for example, in the trial, he talked about a New Year's Eve party where you have Lowe fly them all. They go to Australia so they can celebrate New Year's, and then they're going to fly back. And he's talking about these lavish parties with models, illicit substances and more. And that's all the wine and dine Hollywood to convince them. That's the same way Kim Kardashian gets involved. Kim Kardashian, the first time she hears about this guy, Lowe, he hires her to come in, make an appearance for $50,000 for a couple of hours. She hears about, he throws around money. And you know what? When he's throwing around money, you get to take some of it home. He loves to gamble, and he does big gambling. So she decides she's going to party with him. She's going to party the night away. And they run around. They do all these. They go to all these different places, and then they end up in a casino with their own room Now, this is a guy who's playing $2 million markers at one setting sometimes, maybe more. But she said that she saw him play a $2 million marker once, for example. Well, he gives her money, and she ends up getting $350,000 in winnings that weren't hers. She says she tries to give it back, and he's like, no, you keep it. Because, again, he's giving them money. He's buying them. And she ends up with $250,000 in a trash bag that she puts on her carry-on luggage, Southwestern. She carries it home there. The other $100,000 she has to get him to sign off on because she can't claim it without that. And they work it out for her. And that was her first time that she ran into him and really partied with him. So you can see what kind of person you're dealing with. They buy Hollywood. So anyway, Leo first learns about Lowe through Redacted, aka Redacted, who is a nightclub industry insider and an actor who made a few low-budget films. Now, Redacted had a job with our group, bringing stars into their club. Redacted and DiCaprio, they had known each other for around 20 years. So this person tells Leonardo DiCaprio that Lowe is interested in getting into the movie industry. He was looking into financing a few films, and he had lots of money. That right there, cha-ching, baby. That's what you hear, cha-ching. So DiCaprio might have first met him, said, at a nightclub, at a New York nightclub. Redacted invited DiCaprio to fly to Las Vegas. That was apparently how you wine and dine folks here, by the way. You invite them to Las Vegas, just like the Kim Kardashian story, and you attend these massive parties where, again, all types of favors are given away, gifts. I mean, again, it's an insane free-for-all. Everyone's for sale. Give me 1 second. My freaking chat died, so I'm pulling y'all back up. Sorry about that. So, at first, DiCaprio doesn't know much about him, except he's from Malaysia. He has lots of money. He wanted to get into the movie industry. DiCaprio was most intrigued by Lowe's parties, which involved performances by famous musicians, including Usher, Jamie Foxx, and again, there's quite a few other names that come up, especially Kim Kardashian throws a lot of names in there. Leonardo DiCaprio, not as badly. DiCaprio remembers lots of Lowe's Malaysian friends, Lowe's girlfriend being the first Las Vegas party he attended. Around the same time, DiCaprio was introduced to Lowe. He was introduced as DiCaprio remembers his introduction there. That he's a childhood friend of Lowe's, the son or stepson of a prime minister of Malaysia. By the way, this is such a big case that the money, your illicit funding taken from Malaysia, the prime minister that's involved, yeah, he's in prison now for this. He's serving, I think, 12 years. I think he's his, unless they pardon him or something, he's got a little bit of a. He's got a little bit of a problem. There's also there was a Goldman Sachs banker who was heavily connected to political parties, but one of the political elite that he liked quite a bit was the Clintons. Very connected with the Clintons overseas. He's the only person to get indicted from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs had to make quite a bit of restitution off of this case too. They had to pay back quite a bit of money. But that guy, again, when I throw out a political name, remember all political parties are indicted in this stuff. And if you think that me saying a political name is an endorsement for the party that you like or you don't like, no, man, I don't like any. I feel like they're all broken and corrupt. I think we should have conversations that are honest, that are really honest about them. So anyway, they want to finance a movie for DiCaprio. Now, of the two, Lowe was more outspoken, seemed to run the business side of things. He was shy, a true passion for film. Lowe wanted to kickstart a business for him. So through Lowe, DiCaprio also meets other people, let's just say. Now, DiCaprio did not remember meeting Lowe in New York, 2012, or Las Vegas, 2 times in 2012. He remembered being on yachts with him. Now, Lowe bought a super yacht, like a super yacht, just an insane freaking, and that's when this story's told, the story is never told correctly by the media. Well, I'll take that back. There have been a couple of exposés that really hint on the level of political corruption, but they don't really bring it home to us. Not to the level that it is. It seems to always be slanted in one direction or another. But they always want to, typically, people focus on the, ooh, look at the eye candy. And that is part of the story. But they forget the political indictment portion of it. You know, they focus on the super yacht and the money without the other thing. So DiCaprio partied with them a few times. Lowe, he was accompanied by other friends, etc. Now, here's the Wolf of Wall Street. So Lowe said that they wanted to make a movie with DiCaprio and that they would be the producer. Now, again, this is going to be important because there's a new case coming up, $250 million indictment about that. Again, I'll make its own video for this. And then we get funding. So DiCaprio told Lowe about the Wolf of Wall Street, which DiCaprio had struggled to find finance. DiCaprio was not sure if the talks would lead to anything, but he thought Lowe seemed legit, meaning that Lowe actually had the money. So, yeah, that might go somewhere. So DiCaprio says he didn't remember when he or his representatives decided to run a background check on him. Again, his agent and other folks, they're responsible for vetting, according to DiCaprio. DiCaprio gets pitched by a financier. He asks his rep to look into that person. And it looks like when they say look into it, it looks like, hey, do they have money? It doesn't really look into where that money comes from. Don't look too hard, you know? So at first, Lowe and DiCaprio had a social friendly relationship, but after Lowe financed Red Granite Pictures, it became a business relationship as well. Lowe continued to throw outlandish parties, which DiCaprio attended because that's part of Hollywood business culture. Yeah, right. Oh, he's throwing money and giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time. I'm just sure that's just culture, baby. You got to attend that, right? Like that's a chore. Oh, you might make $150,000, $300,000. What a bother, right? So Lowe said that they, meaning Lowe, they wanted to give DiCaprio whatever he wanted for the budget of the film. So you'd have two of them involved with Wolf of Wall Street budget and financing negotiations. Now, Lowe told DiCaprio that the movie would be funded at $100 million, but the other two were trying to negotiate the funding down to $95 million. DiCaprio felt that Lowe was letting them play at negotiation, but Lowe was the one controlling the money, and he was going to support the Wolf of Wall Street at $100 million. So, in fact, if you look at the thank you about it, so if you want to see like this stuff is legit, they actually came up with the idea, according to DiCaprio, to add a thank you for Lowe at the end of Wolf of Wall Street, which it is right there at the end of it. Thanks him because, again, he paid for this freaking thing. So DiCaprio did not remember specifically when Lowe told him that he'd go to $100 million. Lowe had a lot of business ideas, including opening a studio, developing islands. Lowe wanted to help DiCaprio develop an eco resort in Belize. Lowe said he was an owner, access to the owner of the Viceroy Group. Lowe also, this is important. Lowe didn't, this guy, so to tell you how he winded down Hollywood, he didn't buy stars. He bought companies. He made Red Granite, for example, Red Granite Productions, but also EMI. Yeah, you know EMI? He bought into EMI. He was buying into major companies. I mean, this guy, again, when you have $4.5 billion to do whatever the hell you want with, or at least a part of that, a fraction of it, imagine what you could do. Imagine the lifestyle there. You know, I mean, Lowe's dating supermodels, I think his girlfriend at the time, the model, had to give up what was it, $8 million in jewelry. I mean, they were living the house they had. It's insane stuff there. It's an unreal story. But DiCaprio knew Capital was associated with Lowe, but he did not remember Lowe discussing it with him. So they bring up other places there, you know. DiCaprio remembered Sean Sachs, his publicist, hired someone to look into the two. Afterwards, DiCaprio was given the okay. Now, the reason he says, now, this is a fascinating thing. The reason he says that he felt they were okay to deal with was because they had contact with the Obama administration. He had contact with people like Frank White Jr. These are key financiers in the Obama administration. He had contact. He knew them. They knew him. You had them Lowe setting up pictures with Obama and the prime minister who is now arrested. They're taking photo ops together because there's a lot of illicit money behind the scenes going around. And there are always people that bring up, well, did Obama know? Did he actually know? A smart politician has people that stand between him and the money. So they never are going to be in contact with it specifically. Like when you look at the indictments here on both sides. So the guy in the Trump administration that was blamed and actually indicted, found guilty of it, he was pardoned by Trump. On the other side of it, Frank White, he had his connection. He never really was taken to task at the same level. I don't think he was given a little more leeway, as it were. I think when it became open season on anybody in the Trump administration, you could indict them. People were indicted, but on the other side, we've seen indictments on both sides, but not in a long time. Every now and then we'll see some corruption indictments, but to the level that we're talking about, some of the people at these highest levels, you don't usually ever see them indicted for crimes. It very rarely happens. Very rarely. So, I mean, it's surprising that any of these people were ever indicted. And to see them giving testimony about this stuff is just unreal. I mean, it's absolutely unreal. So DiCaprio didn't remember if Red Granite was involved with the Firecracker Boys, or even if the company was formed when it was discussed. DiCaprio did not remember any specific conversations about funding with that. They're talking about the Firecracker Boys movie. By the way, I missed this part. It was a pet project of DiCaprio's dad. It never ended up being made, but it was pitched to them potentially. He couldn't remember. So again, it's just another way. Not only getting good with DiCaprio, getting good with dad and everything else. So DiCaprio, redacted partner of, they bring up. So DiCaprio doesn't remember seeing specific reports about them, what's going on. I mean, he doesn't remember a lot. What's fascinating is he didn't remember a lot of what was brought up until there were messages. So you can see, interview shows him a document stamped, whatever, it's part of it. Sometimes he starts remembering things after that, but he has convenient amnesia for that, like gifts, for example. He's like, I never got any personal gifts from this guy, and he did. He very much did. So oftentimes DiCaprio relies on the studios to conduct due diligence of funding sources because studios are arranging financing. DiCaprio's reps had done due diligence on people before, but usually related to DiCaprio's charity or business investments, not his movies. So his team turned down donations from individuals before when it was decided that individual businesses or associations did not align with his philanthropy. So he'll turn down people. This is what I found fascinating. He'll turn down people for, say, politics. If he doesn't like a person's politics, he'll turn you down. But he certainly didn't turn down this guy, who is, again, turns out to be one of the masterminds behind stealing freaking billions from the Malaysian people. It's like, man, like that. But DiCaprio didn't remember if his team had ever DiCaprio did not remember if his team had ever turned anyone down due to criminal background or proceedings against a person. DiCaprio and his team decided to do due diligence on Lowe because he came out of nowhere. No one knew much about Malaysia. Lowe's associates described Lowe as the Mozart of the business world. Lowe's college friends said Lowe's skill was linking people together in ways that other people could not, and his ability to charm his way into the heart of the deal. Now, that was interesting. See, Lowe Lowe apparently was very good at one thing. He was good at convincing people that he had more than he had. He was always doing that. In fact, there were some college friends of his from the real upper echelons of power. Like he had money. His parents did, but not the level that some of these people did that he managed to influence. So he did things like he ended up renting or borrowing a massive yacht to impress people, to basically say, I'm one of you. He was always a good social chameleon. So I mean, there is that, but it's just fascinating. Again, it feels like with this guy, people didn't really want to look too deep, because again, he's just throwing around just buku money, and they know there's some problems out there. So DiCaprio did not know who the Well of Wells was, nor did he remember meeting him. Lowe organized a grant to fund a fund to protect wildcats, run redacted on behalf of that well, redacted. So he didn't know who that person was when they talked about him. DiCaprio knew redacted was often on the set of The Wolf of Wall Street. Lowe said that everyone had to be nice and take care of redacted. DiCaprio did not recognize the name redacted, nor did he remember meeting the UAE ambassador to the United States. So you see the problem here. This is a worldwide thing. We didn't remember meeting the UAE ambassador to the United States. So that's somebody that's chilling with Lowe here. Again, when you look at the casual connections to political power that are brought up, and especially when you look at the casual mentions of foreign political power that are brought up, that Hollywood is basically hooking up with other politicians. It's creepy because, again, you essentially have this money by entry for a Chinese spy to make contact with quite a few people in very high positions of political prominence. A Chinese spy. This stuff should be everywhere, like I said, but it's not. So you have the Malaysian prime minister brought up. I'm not even going to go for his name. I'll just say Malaysian prime minister because I'll butcher his name. So Lowe initially gained access to the prime minister, Aziz. Lowe used his connection to them to get access to the business world. DiCaprio says he met him twice. The first time that he met him was at the Bel Air Hotel, which was right around the time that he met President Barack Obama. The second time, DiCaprio met him at a charity event. He says anytime Lowe met with him, anytime Lowe met with Lowe would have been there. Okay, so he would have been, okay, that just sounded weird. It sounded like anytime Lowe met with him, anytime Lowe was meeting with the guy, Lowe was there. No, anytime anytime the meetings happened, yeah, Lowe would have been there as well. Lowe seemed to want to impress that prime minister, again, because piggy bank, lots of money. So the first time DiCaprio says he met him, Lowe arranged it. It was a handshake thing, essentially. He says, yeah, they exchanged small talk. DiCaprio met his wife. She might have been at the Bel Air Hotel, met the prime minister. DiCaprio once spoke to the prime minister's wife at a benefit. She asked why DiCaprio cared so much about animals and said he should really care about people. DiCaprio told her that they fundamentally disagreed. Hey, DiCaprio, you should care more about people than you do animals. And Leonardo is like, no, man, no. Like she's really saying, hey, what about people? You do all this stuff for animals. What about uplifting people? And he's like, no, the animals. That's it. That's the way that reads. Yeah, I see what you're trying to say there, but that doesn't read very well. DiCaprio never went to Malaysia, although Lowe proposed it, tried to get them there. Now they bring up emails about that. DiCaprio's like, I don't remember any of that. Lowe had promised to donate money or price of art to DiCaprio's fundraiser. DiCaprio remembered bugging Lowe to come through with a donation. DiCaprio remembered his foundation receiving money, but didn't remember how much that was. So, again, he's buying in through foundations and stuff. And what's crazy about that is that money has to be repaid. You know, that's illicit funding. So that money is going to come back. I don't know if he had to make restitution on the Wolf of Wall Street money. Not sure about that, but I get the feeling that that's probably going to transpire. I mean, they made enough money off of it anyway that company wise, but we'll see. So Lowe said that Redacted was a childhood friend who was lazy but had things done. So they're bringing up other people, business folks. You know, again, you're saying, but DiCaprio was like, I never had any connection to a lot of these folks. But the problem was he had problems. I'm skipping down. The problem was here. This is where DiCaprio ends up testifying in this trial that was ongoing. This is why he gets brought up in this at all, because at the end of the day, DiCaprio had some information about not just Lowe in politics, but also Proz. Proz is on trial in the U.S. That's where this comes in. So sometime in 2012, DiCaprio and Lowe, they end up talking politics, and Lowe said that he had given $20 or $30 million to then President Barack Obama's reelection campaign. Lowe said that he had orchestrated a massive donation to Obama. Lowe used the term "we," as in we're giving money to Obama. He was a big supporter of Obama. Lowe said that he helped set up the meeting between President Obama and the Prime Minister of Malaysia. He also set up, or acted like he set up, a meeting for Martin Scorsese, DiCaprio, and Aziz to hand deliver Obama a copy of The Wolf of Wall Street to the White House. Now, again, you see, that's where you have political power influenced by Hollywood stardom. It opens the doors, plus the money. The money greases those wheels, of course. But you see that it opened the door there. So when the three of them arrived at the White House, they were met by Frank White Jr., who appeared to be an old friend of Obama. Again, you have the people that stand between people and the money, or the people, it allows some deniability. I just took a photograph of this person. I don't really know what you're talking about. So, Proz was one of the celebrities often around Lowe. Proz and White, that would be Frank White Jr., they knew each other and were connected somehow, but DiCaprio couldn't remember exactly how. Proz once said that something negative or bad might be going on with Lowe right here. I got the feeling at one time that Proz was going to try to use Leonardo DiCaprio as his own witness to try to get him out of this stuff. But the state was like, no. He's going to indict you. He knows enough. So they brought him in themselves. I'm curious. The names that have testified so far are crazy. You can just look up some of the headlines. Look up some of the and again, we're having to rely, since we're talking about federal cases here, we're relying on reporting, which is usually that's not a huge problem. But in this, it is. Just getting any information on this whatsoever being reported is crazy. So DiCaprio took assurances that Lowe must have been okay to deal with because he had met with President Obama. You see how, he met with the president. He's going to be okay, right? So you have a lot of different things that are shown to him. They're like, no, I don't know what that is. But apparently DiCaprio went to the World Cup in Brazil. Lowe said that he had rented a massive yacht where they stayed. So they were chilling together with that. I thought that was fascinating. Lowe's assets and family wealth. Check some of this stuff out that's noted here. So Lowe discussed owning the Viceroy Hotel Group, an oil and gas investment company, EMI, Red Granite Productions, a flat in London, a giant skyscraper. DiCaprio also thought Lowe might have mentioned being involved with the Park Lane Hotel. Lowe said it was easy to make money, one just had to focus. He had once told DiCaprio that he just closed a huge oil and gas deal. Lowe owned an apartment in Soho in New York where he let Miranda Kerr stay for free. Now, there's a lot involved with her that you'll find out with Kim Kardashian, which, again, we'll go over in another time. There's too much of this stuff all at once. DiCaprio visited Lowe at his apartment. in Time Warner Center. Think about like some of the costs of some of this stuff. DiCaprio knew Lowe had a yacht. He couldn't remember the name. He did not know if Lowe owned or rented a jet. Lowe appeared to be generous, wealthy man. DiCaprio met Lowe's parents a few times, once in South Africa for the World Cup. Lowe's parents were proud of him. Lowe often talked about creating a film fund or funds to finance DiCaprio's projects. At one point, Lowe said the money would come from New Dubai. Later, he said, I couldn't read that for a second. It's small. Let me blow that up a little bit more. There we go. Dubai. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I couldn't. Later, he said the money would come from China, but he never specifically said where that money would come from. Wait a minute. That money's coming from. Wait. Again, no red flags, though, because don't ask too many questions, right? So, DiCaprio wanted to travel with him to Dubai to meet the Whale of Whales, but DiCaprio never went. So you see again where this is going. Again, we're talking about worldwide travel here. DiCaprio traveled with Lowe to Dubai looking for development projects. DiCaprio identified, there's a picture, family, that doesn't matter. I wanted to buy a house in DiCaprio's neighborhood in Los Angeles. DiCaprio put Lowe in touch with a real estate broker, suggesting if that person made a sale, he'd donate half his commissions to DiCaprio's fund. They had a DiCaprio and McFarlane had a disagreement about that. So that was the other person that was in on this stuff. Let's see. So I thought this was fascinating here too. You know how they love to throw people under the bus about having Russian friends, like Adam Waldman, for example, Marussia. You know that comes up so much. Well, here's an email with a Russian friend of DiCaprio. Again, that shouldn't be a problem. You can have friends all over the world, but you know how like media, like if they didn't like DiCaprio, they'd be like, "Oh my God, he has Russian friends." So again, they talk about the money. They talk about where it all comes from. It's crazy stuff. So they go through communications, and apparently they had WhatsApp, so they could throw away specific ones. WeChat. They had not just a BlackBerry, but also they had, again, disposable conversations. I think that's fascinating. Bad press or government seizures. So they talk about, he says, he'd not heard about 1MDB, the whole thing that's going on, before the bad press about Lowe came out. DiCaprio's reps told him about damning articles written about Lowe in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, and that these articles were more serious than the old rumors that they had heard. Soon after, see, that's fascinating. Old rumors? Wait a minute. What old rumors? Where did those come from? What old rumors? Soon after, the government seized Lowe's assets. DiCaprio and his reps decided they were going to come forward and be transparent as possible with the government. Prior to the articles, because they were afraid, they're like, oh my God, prison time. I mean, this is bad stuff. You see some of the indictment. If you want to see how big and how worldwide this is, again, look up 1MDB. Just look up some of the articles that have come up over the last few years and track some of the cases. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. So prior to the articles, DiCaprio had been told rumors on blogs about the corruption connection. Oh, well, I heard about the corruption, but I just didn't care. After the articles and the asset seizure, he tries to distance himself from Lowe. He remembers getting an email from Lowe that said all of this was political opposition against the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and said that this was all caused by political opposition. Well, I read twice there, and that Lowe had been wrapped up in it, but it was nothing to worry about, he said. And what he tries to do in there is he tries to gift him in. He tries to buy him. So look at some of this. This is fascinating right here. So around this time, DiCaprio was hosting one of his foundation's fundraisers, and Lowe was supposed to donate a piece by Liechtenstein. The piece did not arrive, and right up until the auction, Lowe was telling DiCaprio it was going to show up. It never did, and DiCaprio pulled it. DiCaprio started to distance himself. But DiCaprio receives an email from Lowe that Lowe had no gifts, that Lowe had made no gifts to DiCaprio. and said Lowe's statement that Lowe had made no gifts to DiCaprio was not true. DiCaprio did not get gifts from Middle East investors, but he did get a Marlon Brando Oscar statue. I thought that was fascinating. He said he assumed it came from Frank DeLuca. Although McFarlane, all the people involved there, while there when he received the statue, DiCaprio felt like the gift came from Lowe. DiCaprio assumed that Frank DeLuca helped Lowe get the gift from, and the gift came from Lowe. DiCaprio assumed that Frank DeLuca helped Lowe get a hold of the statue. I thought that was fast. So he you're talking about something, a Marlon Brando Oscar. I mean, that's pretty awesome, right? Again, think about the doors you can open with this kind of stuff. Think about the power and pull you have too, where you're like, yeah, it would be a good gift for this guy here that I want to get in good with. Marlon Brando's freaking Oscar. I mean, that's crazy. So DiCaprio, he's had communications, and DiCaprio at one point, listen to this. Lowe said that DiCaprio needed to get better public relations people because he was a serious businessman, but had an image of a party boy. I thought that was kind of funny. DiCaprio, he talks about, again, different funding ideas. Like, for example, Lowe wanted to create a massive music fund to get China to put up money to set it up. DiCaprio thought it was a pipe dream. Oh, wait, getting China involved with more money? That's, again, when you look at this whole thing, it's like, wow, China comes up in a lot of discussions, especially discussions when you get the government involved and they start talking. They don't bring up certain names, though. And in fact, I did another live stream. It's one of the few I've done in the last few months. It has the title Bombshell in it, and it talks about how the cases that you've seen, the cases involving Depp, for example, before, where his money was stolen, people that were involved in that. A lot of these cases aren't standalone either through the people like Ari Emanuel. Ari Emanuel, interestingly enough, is a very good friend of a certain Rocket Man. So when you're talking about this subject on, say, a Twitter, if certain names come up, would it be beneficial for that? You remember that picture of a certain Rocket Man shirtless, that people made fun of for a while, because Rocket Man had a dad bod, let's say. I'm not making fun of that either. I got my dad bod rocking. I don't care about it. But you remember that picture? Yeah, that was with Ari Emanuel's. So that's a big name that comes up in a lot of this stuff too. Because we're talking about a name that's imprinted all over Hollywood. DiCaprio's email accounts. DiCaprio stopped using his redacted email account because the security personnel told him to change his email to something random and not connected to him. This was around the time that Jennifer Lawrence got her email hacked. I was like, that's just a weird, random, hey, Jennifer Lawrence, what? But Lowe's associates. So they bring all of this up. And again, when you look through this, it's strange to see how all of it comes together. How you have, again, like here, for example, like look at this. Here you have DiCaprio knowing people. Swiss Beats, aka Kasim Dean, was constantly hanging around Lowe. Lowe gave him and his wife Alicia Keys art and cars. Lowe and Dean had matching Lamborghinis. Jamie Foxx and Usher used to hang around with Lowe. Lowe gave out a lot of Hermes Birkin bags to Kate Upton. So again, you just see these random names that pop up. And the more you read from statements, I was curious if like Fox had been brought in, because we haven't seen all the documentation to this case at all. There's a lot of it that has probably never been brought up at all. And I'm curious what other stars got grilled by the FBI. The ones that we've never heard about. Because, like I said, we heard about the Kim Kardashian stuff. We've got the FBI report that came up with it. But if the FBI is bringing her in and they're bringing in Leo, that they have to be bringing in Jamie Foxx. You know, they have to be bringing in Usher to talk about this stuff with them and other people. You know, the Swiss Beats. I don't know who. I know who Alicia Keys is, but I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that is. I'm out of touch with that. So, but yeah, I mean, again, you know, there have to be more FBI reports on this stuff too. So DiCaprio did not. Let's see. DiCaprio exchanged a few emails with Redacted, but it was rare that he saw him. And when he did, it was on the set of the Wolf of Wall Street or at a party. DiCaprio, you know, he's like, I cut contact with a lot of these folks. I didn't want to have any contact with them in the aftermath. And it's interesting, you know, when he's shown emails. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of emails. This is the guy right here that's going to be in that new lawsuit. Like I said, I'm going to put together a video on it itself because, again, this is a new component. It's another piece of $250 million. You see Hollywood sued. Again, $250 million. You got Leonardo DiCaprio's name all over it. It's like this thing that it's just now getting peeled back. I'm sure they want it to go away, but really, I think it needs to be talked about even more. I think there needs to be a lot more scrutiny over this subject. I mean, don't you find that fascinating? Leo getting pulled in with the FBI. Leonardo DiCaprio. Gifts of artwork were also included there. So he promised, it also said that Lowe promised large gifts of artwork to DiCaprio. DiCaprio traveled to Geneva, Freeport, July. It says 2104. Look at that. I like that typo. It's like he went into the future and he went to this place. Look at this. Pull this up again. He went there in 2104 in 2014. I was like, man, he traveled to the future. He had so much money, he could go to the future. But don't you find this stuff fascinating? I think it's, like I said, this is a kind of case. It has everything in it that you would think that every person in the mainstream media would want to report on, right? And yet, I just found that interesting. There was another thing too. I did a video and I knew the video wouldn't do great, but I thought it was important to bring up because you've seen all the stuff that's come up with Depp's newest film, right? I mean, you've seen all the Cannes blowback, Cannes Film Festival. Well, apparently, I didn't know this about the director that was involved. I didn't know that her ex-husband and her family had been put through the ringer with accusations that ended up with a case that ended up getting dropped ultimately. I had no idea about just how hard the media had gone at her ex, which means they went after her. They went after her kid. You know, of course they're going to. I've noticed something. If you think the U.S. tabloid system is bad, holy crap. Places like The Sun, oh, man. You know, the stuff that they've done, it's absolutely insane. Like anything that I've seen in the U.S. tabloid system, it's like it's magnified 100-fold when you get into the European tabloid system. It's crazy. So she allegedly, now the police, this is according to Hollywood Reporter, the police leaked this information the day after the Cannes Film Festival was announced. In fact, I put a video together with this, but she allegedly went after the editor-in-chief of the outlet that went after her ex-husband and her family. This person was allegedly eating with a lawyer, and she was supposedly sitting by herself. But according to the accusation, she came over, she grabbed him by the hair, spit on him, and ended up leaving. He said, he wasn't physically harmed, but oh man, that psychologically damaged him. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form endorsing something like that. I want to make that very clear. But like I said in the video, I would say this. It is insane that people can drive you to the point. They will ruin you. These are life ruination tactics. They will accuse you of the worst things that people try to off themselves for. And the media walks away with a free pass on it. They get to even if the case goes away. Like, look at Depp. Even if the case goes away, they don't stop. They never stop. And not if if you're found not guilty of something, or the other person is found, they still don't stop. It's crazy that they don't pay a price in the legal system. I think, like again, they practice life ruination tactics, and they double and triple down to make themselves right about this stuff. They don't just go away. And I'm not talking about, again, the guilty party. Who gives a shit? If these people are like criminally guilty, like Harvey Weinstein, burn them down all you want. Have a field day, cover them 1,000,000 times. But when you see proof that somebody is a victim, or if a case is dropped there, they'll go in like after a case is dropped and say, well, it was dropped because blah, blah, blah. They always come up with a reason. They come up with a reason to try to destroy your life. And it's a sad indictment of that you are essentially victimized by these places. It's not like calling your career shitty or saying that you make crappy movies, you're on the decline. They're saying that, you destroy people's, you destroyed somebody, and you deserve to be othered and destroyed, because those type of accusations, they know exactly what they do. They're protected. In the liability protection, they rarely, even if they face liability in court, there's a cap to it. So they only pay out a pittance. Oftentimes people will not cover their legal bills. That's why they end up settling for, you have a cap on it anyway, but beyond that, you're going to pay out a lot of money just to get a little bit more, if you get anything at all. It's crazy. So when I look at that setup, the timing of it was just so suspect too. Now he's supposedly suing her. Like, I'm curious about how that case will play. So I'd really like to see how that plays. I'd like to see if it goes to court, if it ends up settled. And I'd love to see, if I were going to have to pay a potential settlement because of that, I would definitely make sure that I illustrated them in the worst way imaginable. Uh-huh. To get a glue gun? What do you need a glue gun for?
Because I was going to try to fix your wallet
with glue?
A hot glue gun.
You're going to glue? Wait. Well, let's discuss this real quick. So, look, you want to hear something crazy? I'm hearing something crazy happen here. Hey, can you hand me that lighter over there real quick while we discuss this insanity? So, I have this wallet that I really like. It's because I can't figure out what kind of wallet it is. All right. It's different in that, how most men's wallets, you set a card sideways in it. Well, this one, it situates cards up and down in the wallet. I just like the way it's built, but I've had it so long that the interior of it has come apart. The part that separates, if you've seen a men's wallet, it has like cards, and then you have like an under thing where you can stick like whatever underneath, and it separates it from the money holder. Well, the money holder piece came loose, and my wife just came down here and was like, I need to get a glue gun. I was like, a glue gun for what? She's like, for your wallet. I was like, you're gonna glue my wallet back together? I thought it required a
I'm sure your audience
thread
wants to know about.
I want to know. I'm just like, what are you gonna glue? Imagine this in my head. I'm like, imagining my money glued to my wallet.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
I'm messing with my wife here.
No, so I was thinking about taking the material that I was putting in it and see if I could, because to sew, I'm gonna have to
you do it however it'll work. I'm just
dig into it.
I'm just messing with you. I don't care. I just make it work if you can. If not,
I was trying to make it where it was shoddy work. Thanks a lot. Hope you're having a good night, Chad.
Dude, I'm gonna have my credit cards and stuff glued to my ass. Hey, if anyone ever tries to assassinate me, I'll just be like, oh, if I don't have on bulletproof, and I'll just stick my butt up in the air. And make me a wallet out of hot glue. That'd be lovely. It'd be like, you ain't assassinating me at all, man. I got assassination protection. I'm just kidding. Go. Whatever. Anyway, I thought that was funny. She was like, I gotta get a glue gun. I was like, a glue gun. That's hilarious. Yeah, glue will work. Like I said, I'm just giving her a hard time. One of the things with relationships, if you've had a relationship with somebody for a long time, humor is a very, humor.
When you've got almost 2 decades with someone.
Yeah, humor deflects the crazy days, right? You know what I mean? The kid days. Oh, you want to hear something funny? So this is really funny, by the way. So my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, let me pull this up. I really think this is hilarious. This is worth saying here. Give me 1 second. Just 1 minute. You've got to see this, okay? Because I never thought about this until she brought it up. So my 3-year-old daughter has. All right, be careful. My 3-year-old daughter loves Ghostface from the Scream movies. Keeps taking this little Scream guy and wanting to like carry him with her, which people are like, what the heck is she carrying Ghostface? That's because she thinks Ghostface and Spirited Away's No Face are the same character. Which I was like, that would be that's a movie right there. Like finding out the two are the same character. Dun dun dun. But I thought that was hilarious. So she's been carrying this freaking ghost face around everywhere. And people are like, what's that little kid doing with this Scream mascot? Which, hey, if she likes it, who cares? That's funny. But it's because she thinks that is this character right here. She loves No Face. She thinks they're one and the same. I just thought that was hilarious. She's a mess. She's a funny one. All right, so somebody asked about the comic book. It's a very good question too. I'm running behind on it. It was due. It was due at the end of April, and it's health stuff threw it off. I mean, it's just. I don't want to use. I'm not trying to use that as an excuse or anything. That's the reality of it. It threw off. It led to a couple of mistakes on my part. There were a couple of drawn-ins that ended up getting messed up, so they weren't included correctly. That had to be corrected. There were editorial mistakes that were made, and there were a couple of things that they had to be redone. So the way it's set up now, all of the assets for the thing are done, and part of them are in. Like, for example, stickers they're setting across from me. They're campaign assets. The different items. Postcard is done. I like the postcard design too. Let me see if I can pull that up. And ash can, all of that. Masks are done. I mean, again, you have all of that, but there were problems in the main thing, and it's just not right yet. It will be. It is under. It's all. And again, that's not to make an excuse of it or anything, but it's the same thing that hit me with my my channel and live streams when I'm doing. I like some people thought, maybe I had burnout or something, but that wasn't the case. Again, it was just it was a calamity of health issue, and it caused enough that YouTube doesn't like you to slow down, and I slowed down after years of doing that stuff, and it's just been a mess. But it is all in the works. It's all getting its correction, and I don't. because I don't like being. We've never had a late comic before, and it's brought up some issues with the way we've done comics, which before we launch another thing that we will rectify these issues, like having X amount of stuff done. There are certain things you can't do ahead of time, like if you do drawn-ins, for example, and you're going to have campaign assets that you're probably going to do. So you're going to have most of it ready, but they're just issues. Like, it's learning on the go. So again, I hate to even bring it up that way because it's not meant that's not meant to excuse it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's late. That's my fault on that, and it is. That's the reality of it. But the reason that it's ended up late because, again, a derailment of essentially, I had some other health problems, and then I had some pretty nasty health problems for like heart related problems, I guess. You go with they're age related problems and not taking care of myself enough, and it derailed everything. Like, for a while, that's why I didn't live stream for the longest time, because I didn't feel right. I didn't feel good about it. It wasn't. I didn't feel good. It also, I didn't feel good mentally with it. Facing your mortality is not a fun thing. But and it all, it brought up a lot of negative stuff. Like, I have kids, and I'm like, man, what if something happens and this and that? I mean, it just, so again, physically, and it derailed stuff for a minute. So again, that's not, at the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter what it did. That's my problem. And I appreciate people. I appreciate your patience, and I mean, like I said, it is where it is. I want to, this is, I like this idea. So this is what he made for the postcard. It'll make sense. All the postcard stuff, comes into play in there. But look at this image. Does that not look like a photograph that's been folded? So this is the postcard artwork. It's kind of an homage to the X-Files. We've worked into the thing because I love the X-Files. And so does SK. But SK, look at that artwork. At the end of the day, too, when we produce something, it needs to be a certain quality. It has to be. Like, it needs to be the best that we can produce. And it's even with our assets like this. This is a postcard. Some people would consider that a throwaway thing, but it's not. And the design on it, the work, like he went in and wanted to add in the way this came up, and it took quite a few rolls at it, but it came out. It looks awesome. I love it. And again, it'll make sense with the comic book when it comes up. But that's an asset. You got extras with the comic book. So we, like, if you ordered one, it doesn't matter. You ordered the basic tier comic book, it comes with cards and stuff. So that's what I mean by assets with it. And it comes with like this, there's a sticker. I'll show you the sticker real fast. I don't like being late with something, though. That bothers me. That bothers the hell out of me. Because I don't like stuff sounding like an excuse. Because at the end of the day, there is no excuse. It was late. Here's the sticker. This is the design we went with the sticker. It's a smaller, like the last campaign. Check that out. I think that's a cool image. We make for our comic books. My daughter has Avatar, the littlest umbrella, and they've always been like, as she's grown up, she gets to be a hero, and we worked the little one into the new one too. Again, that's SK Bennett artwork to it. I think that's amazing. That looks really good. But like I said, the assets themselves are all done. All of the auxiliary stuff is done. The masks look really cool. They work into the story. Let me show you the mask work. This is you'll have to excuse the picture. This is my picture here. So, it everything looks better in person if I'm holding something. The picture is what it is. But here's check this is me just taking it on the phone here. But this is one of the masks that was made. There were 10 masks, I believe, that were sold. I can't remember exactly how many there are, but there's not a lot of them. But we made them. They go with the story. And this is made by at Sick SIC 666. He makes them. He did a lot of. He's a professional mask maker. The stuff that he makes he's a professional prosthetic designer. He's worked in the horror industry for a long time. Like he did a lot of cool work. He has some of the hockey masks that I have that are they're umbrella symbols, but they're like Jason Voorhees masks. They're actually masks from the original molds. So he has 2 original molds. And when he sells those, when people buy them, you can get he's been working on perfect designs or redesigns of them. But like I said, I think he makes some cool. Yeah, we were trying for something that wasn't just way too creepy. It's got to be friendly. But we wanted to walk a middle line. I thought those were cool. But I like a lot of this stuff that we've ended up with. And it's just, again, health stuff just derailed everything. It made it slow because I wanted to put out another book this year, and it doesn't look like, because by the time you deliver and everything else, it slows everything down to a crawl. But again, that's on me. That is all on me. I hate it when people come up with it makes it sound like that it doesn't matter what the reasoning is ultimately at the end of the day. That's on me. So let's see. Let me hit super chats here. Whew. I appreciate y'all showing up too. I'm going to try to get again, one of the things when you're away, it derails numbers today actually turned out a lot better than I thought. There were almost 900 people. And I figured after being away so long, I figured we'd reset to about 500 or 600 because that's how YouTube acts a lot of times. But I do appreciate you all popping up here. Let's see. Lily Smith, thanks for the 10. Tug, many are saying you need to read your PayPal comments. I will indeed. Okay, thank you. Love you. Glad you're back. Appreciate that. I will read them for sure too. I'll check those out. Rochelle Not Raquel, thanks for the 10 there. How you doing, by the way? Your health is important, Tug. Remember that? Oh, I do, for real. I also never try to live. If I'm in a bad mental health headspace either, like if I'm just having, I hate saying it like that, but you know what I mean. If I'm not in a woohoo, let's have a good one. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't want to live stream to people. Let's see. There is a one from ET, I'm going to say. There is no comment attached to that, but there is a $1 PayPal for that. There was also, I don't know how much people want read there. There was a yesterday, by the way, I want to props to this too. There was maybe it was the day before. There was $100 one that came through from somebody that has done that a few times. I want to give them props. I've noticed you when you've done that. I appreciate it too. I don't name the name that comes from unless I'll give you initials so you know that I'm shouting you out. But I don't I don't read the name there because I don't know if that puts a name that you don't want read. You know what I mean? So I put it on initials, but I appreciate it there too. Summarize. What's up, Summarize? Thanks for the 5. Hey, dear Tug, I'm happy and pleased to wait for my fantastic comic book from me. Please, no, understand. And don't care if it's late. I appreciate that. Like I said, if people do, we're at the editing. We've gone back and forth with editing. We've sent off with the ash can. I'd love to. When I say ash can, I'm talking about there's a mini comic. that you could pick up as well. That's what an ash can technically is, like a miniature comic, usually the same comic, but that's not what this is. This is like a mini comic that you could pick up as well. It's made by my wife writes the stories when they're cute. She did the last one. The first one was kind of a shout out. That was back in the early, like the comics game, when all that stuff was popping off days with Peter Gilmore. But that morphed into, hey, let's just do a fun kind of story. And they're all fun. The early one was fun too. But again, we've made 3 of those so far. That's strange to think. This is our 3rd book. It's so weird. But it's crazy we've done that much. 2012, thanks for the 2 there. To give a PayPal comment to read that, there wasn't a comment on that one that came through. It just had that one thing, by the way. So there wasn't a comment on that when I looked at that. That's the only one I see. Let me make sure nothing went to spam, by the way. Yeah, I don't see any other ones there. No, I don't see any other ones either. Intimidator, what's up, man? Thanks for the 5. Glad to see you doing better. By the way, what did the snail say after taking sailboat lessons for its license? It was clear snailing after that. Indeed, that's a dad joke and a half. My kids would be like, "Oh, Dad." There was a thing on Twitter that asked, like, what game came out when you were 18, like, basically, post your age by posting that. And my daughter saw that come up when I opened my phone, and she said, yeah, wasn't that when they made, like, Kick the Can? I was like, Kick the Can. They made Kick the Can when I was 18. I was like, all right, thank you. 2012, thanks for the 2 there. For all those ass cataract surgery. You're having cataract. Oh, I'm reading them backwards there. My eye surgery is Thursday, so it might be fun times. Cataract. Well, modern surgery stuff is much, much better. Love to you, man. Prayers with you. Hope everybody keeps 2012 in mind there too. Heart, prayer, everything, good thoughts, whatever you send it that way. Fallen Hero, thanks for the buck. And the upside down smiley face, appreciate that. 2012, thanks for the 2 there. Gelf is a wanker. All y'all, indeed. That old Gelf. Hey, Steph B, thank you for the super sticker there. I appreciate that. And the 11, thank you, Steph. I appreciate it. Mary, thanks for the 5. After knowing what you believe now, how quick are you to believe women that say they are abused are actually abused? AH was, we all believe a liar. Okay, that is actually a very good question. If a woman says that she was abused, well, see, part of that comes up with, you got to remember, I work in the mental health field. So if a person says that they're abused, I take them at their word, just straight up. Okay. The problem becomes if it's being weaponized as a way to destroy other people's lives. That's where I doubt everything. I can't take that at face value. So it's a double-edged sword there. If a person says, I was abused at 18, this is a sad byproduct too. There are so many people out there that lie to weaponize, to make hate. I've seen people come up with just crazy conflicting tales that they're making up so they can use stuff for clout. They can weaponize to hate men or to hate other people or to destroy other people's narratives. But at the end of the day, if it's not being utilized to pass laws or to fucking destroy somebody's life, I don't want it. I don't want to have to be that person. I don't want that in my life. I want to be able to sit down and be like, yo, you have an advocate. Because at the end of the day, advocacy against false allegations is also advocacy for actual victims. So that's the way I see it, but there are a lot of liars, and it does creep into your psyche. Unfortunately, that is a byproduct of this stuff. You do find it socially, you find that you believe people less. And unfortunately, it's the same thing. I'm gonna bring up another situation, and I'm bringing this up not to bring up the controversy with it, but just to make a point. Anytime there's like a shooting or something, you always have people that will, from any side of it, that will bring up the identity, whether that's religious, color of a person, or whatever, with a shooting. They bring this stuff up and they use it as an indictment of everyone. That is not an indictment of everyone. That is an indictment of an individual. An individual did something monstrous. But unfortunately, we see so many of these things, so many false allegations coming up, and abusers. We're seeing more like teacher abusers abusing their kids sexually. We saw 6 come up in the last couple of days, 6 of them, and it makes you hesitant, and it makes you more hypercritical than you need to be, even if it's subconsciously, and it's something that you have to fight, because people are not responsible for the individual deed, and there are a lot of victims out there. There are a lot of victims, and it's like in any crime, whether that's a shooting or anything. Right, there are a lot of victims from every walk of life that end up in this stuff. Everything, and you cannot fucking blame outside the individual. You can't say, I'm gonna smear an entire group of people. I don't believe it. I feel like that's something I don't ever want to be responsible for. I have seen many victims in my work too. I have seen some of the most horrific shit done to children that the best way I know how to describe it is soul crushing. So I know it exists, but it's easy. See, the problem you run into online as well is you just see words and you don't see the person. One of the things that you can see from survivors, victims, you can a lot of times you can see I'm not saying every time, some people will learn to conceal it, but so often you see people, these aren't things that you just bring up in casual conversation. In real life, the things that we bring up casually take years sometimes to manifest in conversation, because we're letting people at the most vulnerable places, the scars on us. People see our armor, but we don't let them see the scars underneath. But online, we sometimes do. And in real life, you don't carry that same bias a lot of times that people promote. Because again, people are more than words when they're offline. They're expressions of emotion. And like I said, you see people, they wear their scars. They may not wear it on their skin, but they wear it on their expressions. They wear it in behind their eyes, in the fear that they sometimes manifest, or the hurt or the pain. It's a thing that we lose more and more of these days. We also, what scares me as well is we have fucking bots that pretend to be people, right? We talked about the false accuser bots. You have bots out there. You have bots out there that pretend to be victims. Like, that's crazy, right? Well, think about that. They steal to weaponize these narratives. You have bots being designed to take the worst aspects of humanity, the worst things that happen to people, and to weaponize them as points. That's awful. Like the online sphere is its own beast. And unfortunately, it does teach us some horrible behavior in real life. So I think that's a very good question, to be honest. I do. I think that's a very good question. Mark, thanks for the 5 there. Glad to hear you back on form, Tug. Thank you. I'm recovering from spinal fusion surgery. Hope to be back soon after 4 years. Man, I hope, man, dude. Promise to you, you take it a step at a time. Don't rush yourself. And props to you. I mean, that's major stuff. Major. Killing Rochelle, thanks for the 5. What's up, Tug? Sorry, I've been around much lately. That's okay. I haven't been around much lately either. That's okay. Volunteer, thanks for the 5. Hey, Tug and Chad. Hey, back to you. Appreciate that. And thanks for the 10 there. Oh, yeah, the Doubtable love. By the way, I do want to give, again, love to Doubtable. I do like that platform. I like it. I have to watch that Eric Hunley thing that K-Rab mentioned. You know, I will definitely have to check that out. Let me see. I figure saw a couple more pop up at the top. If I missed your, I know people send in member chats. They don't stay at the top of the thing, so I miss them sometimes. I apologize for that. If I don't see them right at the top, I don't catch them while they're there. It pops them. You know, it just pops them off there. It doesn't have a way to store them, unfortunately, that I know of. You know. Nancy, thanks for the 2. Ask Runkle if he can make you a new wallet. That'd be interesting. Yeah, because he does his leather work. That would be cool, actually. Ray, thanks for the 20. Thanks for the call the other day, Tug. Truly appreciated. And promised by devs that our crowdfunding plugin should be ready for review by tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see it in works and running soon. Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, Ray is always innovating. I appreciate Ray, by the way. If you don't know Ray's good people. Ray helped me out when I needed some stuff with the website and everything else. So, you know, there are some of you out there that I consider allies, friends, and some of you I consider family, you know, because, I mean, you've been in this. We made us a new shirt, by the way. I thought it'd be good. I thought it was a good message for not just what's gone on at the 1-year anniversary of this trial that we saw, but also for everyone else. I think it's an important one. So if you haven't checked it out on ThatUmbrellaGuy.com, check it out. Still winning, baby. Still winning. It is fascinating. Again, you know, the world, after a year, the world doesn't pay as much attention. And rightfully so, I understand. But we've had, you know, I don't know if you folks have looked up articles that are actually not even, if you go online, some of the stuff that people say it's just quite insane. This attempt to rewrite history. You remember the quote that history is written by the victor? That's not true anymore. Like, if you look at the mainstream media for a trial, you know, for example, the Deb trial, they're trying to rewrite history from the loser perspective. They're trying to pretend, but their narrative, they shift goal. Like, after false accusations were proven to be legit and real and damaging, what did they do? They said, oh, well, you know, people financially finding this stuff, that's actually damaging to victims. They go in and they just rewrite it. It's crazy. I've never seen such a concerted effort to do this stuff. Never. I mean, there have always been efforts to rewrite or redirect history, but it's never been, we've never had instantaneous access to this stuff, just like this every day. You know, we have the ability to communicate faster. You know, there's a scary thing that's going on right now, too. I don't know if you all have heard of the quote unquote TikTok laws, you know, litigation that or the TikTok governing rules, you know, where you had we had people talking about shutting down TikTok, you know, because Chinese affiliate. Well, the rules on that actually had nothing to do with TikTok. If you actually look at the laws that are being passed, those laws, they deal with everything from the flow of information to the ability to conceal who you are online from using VPNs. It's crazy. There is a war being waged in the media, by governmental entities to control the flow of information. Because right now, at this time in history, we have more access to information and potentially to finding out the truth about things than we ever have. And we can see process in work real time of people trying to rewrite that. And it sounds so conspiratorial until you watch it. Like somebody super chatted the other day and said, when I first started people to talk about the Depp trial and stuff, it sounded like conspiracy until, I looked into it, and it was absolutely crazy. And it is, it is. It is absolutely crazy to see what is going on real time. Let me see. Give me a second. Connor, thanks for the 2 there. Kick the can. Is she watching old Twilight Zone? Yes, yeah. Actually, we watch a bunch of old Twilight Zones together. I do that every year. Like as I've gotten older, my wife and I, as a New Year's thing. I used to party and whatever, but it's changing my lifestyle as part of that. And I've talked about, I talk about this more as I've gone forward with. I've become more comfortable in talking about like substance abuse history. You have to redefine your habits. And one of the things my wife and I have done for years is we watch old Twilight Zone. It's just like it's kind of a thing that brings in the new year. It's just something. It's not just it's a memory. It's nostalgia. It's more than just a habit. It's something that you do together. And my daughter is sitting down and watching a bunch of old Twilight. So it's just quite funny. Sandy, thanks for the 5. Missed you. I've thought about joining Doubtable, as I haven't looked at Twitter lately. It's so toxic. Yeah, Doubtable, that I don't know what I don't know what the creators of Doubtable will do going forward. I don't know what their plans are. I would love to see a concerted effort to make it something. I'm game for. I post on there. I'm getting this weekend because it's been busy, and I'm terrible about posting on multiple platforms. I need to get locals rolling again. It has been far behind. That is my fault again. With health, it's been like, when I'm not doing video, it's very hard to do. When I'm not doing my blame platform, it's very hard to do the other ones. But Doubtable, I think, could be something. It will take effort. It will take connecting to people. I'm not sure if you can run into the right people and get them to even post their. I saw like Nate the lawyer. If you get some of the lawyers on there, you could also get. I don't know. I mean, I could bring it up in other circles, like with Yellow Flash and stuff. I could bring it up with the folks that I stream with there. The key is to get it into different circles and promote it as an idea. And it's invite only now, but hopefully I hope to see it open up and become something as a viable alternative, because I think that the people behind it, you could legitimately have something on your hands there. And all I want from a social media platform is this. I want something that at the end of the day, you'll guarantee me that I don't care what your personal beliefs are on something. I don't want you to shut down the other people on that discussion. Like here's the thing. I don't want the Amber Heard Sims shut down when they're trying to go out and do their simpery. I think they expose a lot of who and what they are, and I would rather they do that. In fact, I am of the opinion, now some people may not agree with this, but I'm of the opinion that even with what people can, that is true hate, when you see true hate with slurs and more, I would much rather see those people for who they are. That's just my personal opinion on something. I would much rather not pretend that they don't, like when we ban, I get why people get banned. I understand that. But I would rather recognize somebody for what they are and know to avoid them. Because this game of pretend like they don't exist, that makes it dangerous. It doesn't get better. See, the way that we beat hate groups in the past, They talk about mis or disinformation about hate groups. No, man, hate groups, you know, you would see them in the South, for example. You would see the Klan want to march, right? You know how you beat the Klan? You go out and you make fun of the fucking yokels that are part of it because they're a bunch of inbred rubes. They're not. They've got the IQ of a dumb potato, and it's fun to make fun of them. But you recognize what they are. You don't pretend. You don't make them something mysterious. You shine a spotlight on them and you say, right there, look at what that is. Is that what you want to be? If you're like, oh, that's horrible. So, I mean, for me, but I can understand why a platform would remove that. I just don't want controversial talk. Like for example, there are discussions these days, I think with discussions about transgenderism, for example, just throwing that out there. I think that when you shut down a part of even what you might consider a very hateful part of a conversation, when you shut it down, I grew up when homosexuals were looked at as not people. I mean, they were shunned. I mean, we pretend that doesn't exist, but I remember it. I remember it very well. I'm sure homosexuals remember it too. And the way that you the way that you fight that is you on one side you show that people are simply people, and on the other side of that, you also you show what people standing and you deflate arguments. Now, again, there are multifaceted. Again, there are discussions about there are actual discussions about children, child endangerment stuff. They need to happen too. They need to happen. They very well need to happen, because when they don't happen, what occurs is it looks like you're trying to protect maybe that's not happening. Maybe it is, but you see what I mean. And again, that's just throwing something random in there. But all conversations, I mean, again, light, man. You don't shove it into the dark and hope it doesn't exist. I think that's hatred magnifies and grows that way. Wow. But anyway, I'm looking at the conversation here. It seems to be going back there. I don't think I think homosexuality, like Twitter's not real. Okay. First of all, when you see conversations on Twitter is not real. Twitter's not a manifestation of real life. And I think homosexuality is not that controversial. If I live in the middle of the Bible Belt. And again, I live in an area where, yes, by religion, you're going to run into religious people that very well do not accept that at all. You're going to run into some people that won't. They're not accepting. Over time, hopefully that I've seen it ease up more, though. I've definitely seen people may hold resentment in. And it may manifest, say, on social media, because it's easy to say shit on social media that you wouldn't say in real life. But I don't think that's a proper gauge of where people are. I don't. Now, I do think that there are society's a strange place. You have a lot of stuff that people are confronted with all the time. Society is an ever-changing mask, and there are legit criticisms that come up. There are conversations. Not every conversation is hate, too. It's complex stuff. I don't like getting it, because at the end of the day, you as an adult, I don't give a fuck what you do. I don't. I really don't. I don't care. I don't care what you do at all. I don't care who you love. In fact, it's just the opposite. Man, you go out and you find somebody that you care about or love, I'm happy for you. Because life's hard. And, in mental health especially, we see people that break down all the time, give up. And it's because human connection is so hard to find. So if you find somebody alive, I don't give a damn, and beyond that, I don't care, like that kind of connect. There have just been, there are other, I don't want to get into crazy conversations with that, again, but conversations about what can happen with children, those are conversations that have to happen too. The role of government, because the governmental entities, there's a fine line in making sure that everyone has a right to do what they want, and then government using something as an excuse to do what they want, I guess is the best way to do it. So again, there's all kinds of, and I find like I like looking at situation and just seeing what happens. I like corporations are a weird thing in this. I'm going to end soon in a minute, but corporations are weird in this because corporations hijack the conversations that we have, just like politicians, and they try to market it. It always pisses me off too. Like when you see that, like for example, we saw this in the comic book industry, and you see this in movies and stuff too. You have people that wouldn't understand the actual word of inclusion or diversity. They wouldn't understand that at all. They think taking a character that's existed for a while, like Iceman in comics, for example, and be like, he's gay now. They think that's inclusion and diversity. It's like, no, that's not, dude. That's not. That's not. And in fact, the blowback when people see that, or changing historical figures. I mean, there's craziness with that stuff too. We've seen everything from Cleopatra that comes up to Vikings, Vikings Valhalla, taking actual historical characters and being like, hey, this character now, we're gonna frame them differently, and we're gonna change the race, and that's it. And there are a lot of people out there though. There are a lot of historical people that should be uplifted. There are a lot of truly inspirational figures from history that could be discussed, but instead corporations are like, let me hijack your identity and pretend those other people don't exist. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? So I'm always curious about that too. Like I said, they're fine lines because, people pretend like there's this two side and that's it. Like there's not there's not conversations and they're not shades of things. It's either you are this or you are that. We've learned that from a political divide. You're either A or B, and life is much more complex than that. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that conversation, but I'm going to end here. It's been good. I can't believe 600 of you are still listening to this, but I think it is a good, I think it's a good conversation. There's a lot of horrible shit. Like I said, child predators. I can't, I've worked with children victims forever, and I have no tolerance for even the hint of impropriety when it comes to children. So, again, there's a lot going on there. But anyway, I'm going to end here. We can talk about all kinds of craziness. Again, we'll find something tomorrow to talk about too. I'm kind of thinking about that. I'll see how everything goes, but I've thought about talking about the Kim Kardashian stuff with her FBI, part that came up. But anyway, I'm going to end here. Appreciate you. See ya.